Well, what an amazing time! What an interesting. We're coming into a very interesting week, aren't we? We've got this start of the impeachment trial starting today, in
Yeah.
starting now, or literally now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting because I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this one. That is it not unconstitutional to impeach a civilian?
And go after a president that's no longer supposedly president.
Or is he still president?
Exactly.
Well, there's a lot of grey areas here, and this is going to be very interesting for those of who are watching, who are following this, because the one thing that I would say with Donald Trump, and I've never met him, but I know a lot of people who have, but he's not the sort of man that if you stole from him would let you get away with it quietly.
No, not at all.
And it seems to me that this silence is very telling at the
Golden.
moment. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting time. What do you say, Simon?
I think what is excellent that's just come out is the video of the famous guy with the horns on his head.
Yeah.
Who broke in and then decided to write a note, and that's now been released, which, because the cop or the security guard is a DC cop, as a police officer, is there clearly under orders to allow them entry prior to the happening. It really does show you, and it will show everyone, that this was a complete inside job. And I think it'll be very difficult, even if there was a willingness to convict. I mean, yes, they can impeach, of course they can, but they can't convict. And that's what will happen. You need 17 Republicans. There aren't enough rhinos in the Senate to do that. Get between 3 and 5. But of course, the last lawmaker was censured by her membership. And so I think a lot of Republicans now are very worried about turning against Trump. So it actually was good because both sides can show their evidence. So it's great from the Trump side, but actually it's not a big deal in the world at the moment. It's going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
What was the note that was left, Simon?
Basically said,
left?
It's basically said it was written to, I think it was written to Pelosi rather than Biden. And it said, justice is coming.
Huh, nice.
Yeah.
Justice is coming. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a very interesting time with this going on. I'm just going to make one mention, because I had a phone call from somebody earlier that said to me, and I actually said this, that the Roman Catholic Church was satanic, or has become satanic. And I said it on purpose. I said it with reason. I wanted to wake the Roman Catholic community up and say, you've been infiltrated by satanic people. It's very much the same as the Democratic Party have been infiltrated by bad people, and the same with the Republican Party. They've all been infiltrated. They never were. The Roman Catholic Church was never the way it is now. No. And when you look at the Vatican and the satanic symbology and numerology there, it's time to wake up and kick out what's evil. And the gentleman I was speaking to earlier was telling me the timelines of when this happened and the different popes that allowed this to happen. But it's time for us all to wake up. And sometimes I poke people on purpose to get them to wake up, to do some research for themselves, because I'm not the Messiah. I'm just Charlie. I'm here to try and find out the truth, but I'm not going to do it all by myself. I want other people. I'm not a Roman Catholic. I want the Roman Catholics to stand up and look inside themselves and find out who's infiltrated them, who's on the wrong side. And it's been done very surreptitiously, very sneakily, very quietly. And I likened it very much to when I was approached by the Chinese some years back, and was offered £2.5 billion, interest-free with no repayment date, to invest in the United Kingdom in humanitarian projects. And in return, they didn't want the interest, they didn't want their money back. They just wanted connections. They wanted me to introduce them to certain members of parliament. And now we're starting to see how clever they are. The Chinese have infiltrated the United Kingdom. They've infiltrated the European Union. They've infiltrated the United Nations, NATO, America. They've infiltrated the lot, and they've done it very, very discreetly. And now we're having to deal with the consequences. But it's important that we all wake up and see what's gone on. And my job is just to try and get people to wake up to see what's happening.
Yes, it's very true, Charlie.
Yeah, I needed to mention that because some Roman Catholics came at me and said, "We're not satanic." I said, "No, you're not. But the church has been infiltrated, and it's time to kick out what's evil for all of us."
It's just not just the Catholic Church. I mean, you could go to any church in Great Britain and it could be wonderful. There could be a wonderful person running it. It's the absolute greatest thing. And you could go a quarter of a mile down the road, going to another one, and there's a satanic guy running that. So you're right. It's down to the grassroots to identify who the heck is on their side and who isn't. And I think the Roman Catholic faith has been absolutely hammered by all of the allegations and prosecutions of paedophiles in the church, to the extent now that I think they're shell shocked, Charlie. I think Catholics are absolutely shell shocked. And when the Pope did his last visit, numbers to turn up were down 30-40%.
Yeah,
because people have just lost the connection with the Pope. So now is the time for people to get that brush and sweep everything out that's rotten.
This is the time to awaken, isn't it, to what is true and what's not true. And this is this whole journey. We need to be awakened to what's happening in the world. So many people, there's so much out there to wake people up. All right, with Tom's stuff, it's very subliminal. The numbers, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I've got a little piece of prepared. I wanted to ask Simon a question. He mentioned the 17 in regards to his opening statement with the impeachment, etc. So 17 is obviously Q. And one of the things that stood out to me, Simon, was actually I should mention as well, when I first started watching you a few weeks ago with Charlie, you said accidentally you said Sidney Wood, meaning Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. And Sidney Wood is my grandfather, and it was a significant timestamp as well. I can't remember it now.
That's interesting. Well,
yeah. So I was like,
good job.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, oh, I've got to speak with Simon, with Charlie. So it's great to be here. You've mentioned Scottsdale, Arizona, and in regards to Q, etc. And I have a dear friend, Chad, that lives out in Arizona, in Mesa, in the Phoenix area.
Right.
And I've spoken to him a little bit. Have you been to Arizona? You've been to Scottsdale before, have you?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned it, because I don't know Scottsdale particularly well, but I know parts of Phoenix. I know Mesa. Which is all in that community of Greater Phoenix. Okay. And I just did some numbers on that, and I thought they were interesting, so I wanted to share them with you.
Yes.
And I think Charlie, you're going to like this as well.
Okay.
So first of all, Scottsdale. So the place Scottsdale comes to 118, which comes to the storm. It comes to the matrix. It comes to the silver. It comes to the blackout. 118 also comes to what is? How do you pronounce the capital city of Myanmar at the moment? Is it Nayapyidaw? Am I saying that correctly?
It's about right, isn't it?
It's about right.
Yeah.
That comes to 118 as well. So that is the storm. Myanmar comes to 85, which is storm, which is silver, which is blackout. Interesting enough, Arizona comes to 85, which is storm. But Scottsdale comes to the storm. So you've got that going on. It was interesting because you've got Q there, etc. And but there were some other great numbers that came up with it as well. One being, if you break the word down, Scots and then Dale. So Scots, SCOTTS, comes to 96. 96 comes to GameStop, which we had just at the end of last month. It also comes to the month of February. It also comes to Spaceship. It also comes to Atlantis. comes to Kushner, and it comes to Mel Gibson, interestingly enough, the great film director and actor. The word Dale comes to 22, which is the atomic symbol for gold. It's also the name of Cobb. Cobb is a character that Christopher Nolan likes to use in his films, and I'm a big fan of his work, and I think he's very closely related to Q and to President Trump in all of this. I think he's a white hat director in my understanding and knowledge of that. But another thing with it is AZ. So sometimes when we see President Trump, traveling around the states, you'll see the abbreviation of the state. So Arizona is also known as AZ. So A is the first letter of the alphabet. Z or Z is the 26th letter of the alphabet. And you add them together, it brings you to 27. 27 are the initials for JFK. So J is the 10th letter, F is the 6th letter, K is the 11th letter. You've also got a beautiful, when you go out there, Simon, you'll notice this. There's a beautiful area, there's a beautiful mountain, and it's called Red Mountain. So red is JFK, 27. Mountain comes to 107, which is Trump's. It also comes to quantum. It also comes to currency, comes to Aquarius, comes to military, comes to the word 20. So when we were in the year of 2020 last year, it was also Trump's military. And if you speak in military code, in terms and on the military clock, if I was to say to you, me and Charlie will convene at 2000 hours, that would, 8 o'clock. So 2020 was also 88. And 88 is also the word for Trump. So when you spell it out, TRUMP, it comes to the value of 88. There's another beautiful area that you'll notice when you go there, and it's called Superstition Mountain, or the Superstition Mountains. So you can add a plural, but there is a Superstition Mountain. Superstition, super is 79. Oh, I should have mentioned Trump's 107 also comes to Superman. So you've got that character going on as well. But superstition, so super comes to 79, and you add stition to it, it takes you to 185. And 185 comes to Donald John Trump. So you've got Donald John Trump Mountain, so Trump's. And then you've also got the old Constitution inauguration date is the 4th of March. The 4th. So that is 33, which is Don, which is also gate. 4th, F-O-R-U-T-H, comes to 88, which again is Trump. So the 4th. If you add the two together, you get 121, which is Revelation. It could be the 4th of July, perhaps. It's very significant. Back to the Future, Doc Brown talks about 1.21 gigawatts. So the 121 is an important one. But if you take it further, so the 4th of March, it comes up to 185 again. So Donald John Trump, Superstition Mountain, and the 4th of March are all 185, which again I thought was beautiful. I also looked at the map. So around the Superstition Mountain range, you've got two routes. One of them is 88, which is above, and it heads into the metropolis of Phoenix. Phoenix, interestingly enough, comes to 91, which is POTUS. It's also Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of POTUS in New York. And then the route below Superstition Mountain comes to 60. 60 is currently the age of JFK Jr. It's also one of President Trump's favorite comms. The color orange comes to 60. Also diamond comes to 60. But if you add 88 plus 60, it comes to 148, which comes to Donald J. Trump. So quite often he'll sign things as Donald J. Trump. You mentioned one just a little while ago. Oh, actually the airport. So the airport is called Sky Harbor. Sky comes to 55, which also comes to Melania, which also comes to heaven. You've got the word, where are we? Where do we get to? Oh, yes. You mentioned just a little while ago, you said justice is coming. Okay, so justice is coming is an interesting one. That comes to 176, which comes to Donald Trump Jr., so his son. And that also comes to the film Back to the Future. And last week, there was actually a newspaper front of one of the tabloid newspapers, and the words added up. The strange phrase that they created came up to 176, which was Donald Trump Jr. plus Back to the Future. And also now you've said justice is coming, but there's also a geographical part. So if you add Phoenix, which is 91, plus Arizona, which is 85, got 85 here, silver, etc. You add those two together, it comes to 176, which is justice is coming, which is Back to the Future, which is Donald Trump Jr. Anyway, I thought those things were interesting in regards to what's coming. Another one as well, which is nice, is there's a mountain range. Well, I say a mountain range. There's another mountain isolated on its own, which kind of sticks up in the center of the city almost. It's not far from the airport. You'll see it when you fly in, and it's called Camelback because it looks like a nice camel. If you can see some beautiful sunsets. If you're at the top of Mesa, Las Sendas, the golf course, you can look out past Red Mountain and you can see Camelback in the airport and the center of Phoenix. And Back comes to 17, which is Q, and Camel comes to 34, which is one, the word one. It's also Neo from The Matrix. The Matrix comes to Scottsdale, but also it's the initials of DJT. DJT comes to 34, which is Donald John Trump again. So Camelback is DJT plus Q, which is 17. That comes to 51, which is Jasara, which is also Batman. And Batman has some close. President Trump is pretty much all these superheroes. So Superman, there's Batman and Robin. Batman comes to 51, which is Jasara. Robin comes to 58, which is Nessara. Comes to Ivanka. It comes to Star. It comes to XRP. But there's some beautiful correlations, and I found some of those big ones in other places. London's very full of it. New York is, but I hadn't had the chance to do Scottsdale and Phoenix and Arizona, so I thought I'd do that, and I was really happy when I saw the numbers leap out at me. So
I'm very grateful, Tom. That's been wonderful, and I'm reminded of when Trump made an appearance.
Thank you, Simon.
It was a pleasure. After Trump made that appearance after the COVID, and he did this, and he said, "I feel like Superman." So that's
yes.
Thing. And the other one, there's a number of Q drops lately that have said the storm is coming.
Yes.
So there are two very, very interesting connections. So I really appreciate what you've done there. And
you're welcome.
I hope people, when they watch this, they take the time to get involved and start doing the decoding and start empowering themselves, because it is not chance. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. Future entanglement being brought into real time now. And there are not many people, Tom, on the planet that can do what you've just done. I gave you the phrase "justice is coming."
Yeah.
And you worked that out while we were talking. So well done, you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It's very interesting that for many, many years, the deep state has used symbology and numerology against us.
Yes.
And they're completely spooked now by it being used back at them. They don't know how to handle it.
No, because it's coming from a different energy field. When it was fired out by them, it was satanic, it was very dense, it was very heavy, it was very evil. And now this is almost on the quantum side. They can't conceive it. They can't get their head around it, and so they're just running from it.
Yes, you mentioned quantum there, Simon, and you said about Superman and President Trump. So 107 is Trump's, 107 is Mountain, 107 is Superman, and it's also quantum. 107 is quantum, and so sorry.
Tom, I need to ask you. So you said something which has intrigued me. 3 years ago,
yes,
somebody sent me, just out of the blue, a genuine negative from a film, and then it's enlargement on an ordinary photo, and it was Neo from The Matrix, and I never understood why they sent that to me. But you just mentioned something about The Matrix, didn't you? What did you say it equates to?
Yes, so Scottsdale comes to 118, so 118,
Right.
which comes to the Matrix.
Right.
Matrix comes to 85, which is silver. It's storm, it's blackout. But the Matrix, and Arizona itself comes to 85. But the Matrix comes to Scottsdale, and also going where that, a storm of events at the moment is Myanmar. So Myanmar comes to 85, which is
Right.
Matrix, and then the Matrix is Nayapadu, the capital city.
Interesting.
So you've got both of those going on, and then you've got,
Wow.
as you said about, Scottsdale with Q, etc. Arizona, you've got it right there as well. So Arizona is 85.
Well, it's just wonderful. And you look back and we all do, and we think, oh, I know why that happened and why that was. But it's only with your decoding that it actually will make sense of it. Without that decoding, Tom, I would never have understood now why that person sent me the picture of Neo from the Matrix.
Oh, pleasure.
Thank you. Great.
And Neo is DJT as well. So Donald John Trump,
Right.
D, 4th letter, J is the 10th letter, T is the 20th letter, comes to 34, DJT. And also it's 2 17s, it's 2 Qs. So you've got Q, Q plus, etc. So you've got the 2 there, which is nice as well.
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing as well about it is I talked about the beautiful scenery shot. I have to send some to you. I've got plenty of pictures of it. It's actually the physical place. The only time I've ever physically seen in the flesh a tornado or anything like a tornado was actually in Arizona, and they don't get them there. But they called it a funnel cloud, and it didn't touch, but it was I've got it on video, and it actually formed. So the actual storm, like a tornado, was there in between the Sandus Golf Course at the top of Mesa, looking out past Camelback Mountain and down to the city, the metropolis area. But Mesa, MESA, which I think means table or flat table, something like that, comes to 38, which is gold. And if you say Donald Trump, it comes to 138. So you've got a nice, and he's talked before in videos he's done. He said we're going to do some 1s and 2s and doubles and triples, etc. So there's a few codes in that, but one of them is to see the reflection. You can have 38, but you can also have 138, which is Donald Trump. If you take it up a notch, 185 or 180. So 85 is silver, is Arizona, is storm, etc. But his full name, Donald John Trump, comes to 185. So he has gold and silver in his names as well. You can see that.
Wonderful. Just like then to back your currency with gold, then, isn't it? And silver, Charlie?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And he's the king of it all. That's what he's doing. But so there's, like you said, there's no coincidence that his name, his literal name, represents both of those things, gold and silver.
Sure. No, there's definitely a lot of things going on right now. I've been speaking to people the other side of the Atlantic, and I've got an important conversation on Friday with some people behind the scenes that are working on this transition, and we'll see how close we are. They said to me we could even be there before we speak. Well, that would be lovely, but the one thing that I've learned is not to give timelines, because that's set by God. That's not set by Charlie or set by man. It's to learn patience and to sit back and enjoy, knowing that the battle is won, and we're just watching the pantomime. Enjoy the pantomime. Some of it's crazy, I know. And we're right over the target because we're getting attacked.
Yes.
You never get attacked if you're not on the target.
Yeah.
Well,
and we're all safe as well. We're safe, everyone's safe. But the pantomime
over the
target is rolling out.
This is a very bumpy road we're all on. I mean, if we imagine ourselves in an old jalopy, every time we go one of these terrible bumps, we all sort of fly up and hit our head on the roof of the car. And I'm getting a bit sick of banging my head on the roof of the car.
As long as you don't fall out of the car and start throwing rocks at it like some people.
No, I'll never do.
We'll have to all get our tin hats out, Simon, and wear them. Make sure we're okay. Dad's Army.
Yes. Oh, very British. Well done.
Exactly. Have you got any more news as to what's going on at the moment, Simon?
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of digging around. Some people who I think they're all focusing on this court case that's building for SCOTUS. And I mean, I can't give any predictions because I haven't had any information that will allow me to do it. But what I can do is possibles. The SCOTUS can throw out the court case, just throw it out. It can put it back to the fall, October-ish time, or it can hear it within 4 or 5 weeks. Now, I think, and this is just me thinking, it's not me reporting anything, I think that if they throw it out or they push it back to October, I think the good guys will act. Because they will say we're not waiting that length of time, and we feel we have enough evidence through the lower courts to act to defend the democracy. But if SCOTUS were to hear this within 4, 5, 6 weeks' time, I think the good guys would wait 4 or 5 weeks to allow that to happen. Now, the other question, which is right up your street, Charlie, is that I would have thought it would be very ideal to have the right person in the White House at the same time you transition to a new currency. And I would have thought that it's probably best if both sides are on cue. So what do you think? Do you think that it's possible that the new financial system could come in with our dear demented friend Biden? Or do you think that's not going to happen, Charlie?
I personally don't think that's going to happen. I personally think that we're transitioning from the bankrupt corporation to a new republic. I don't think for 1 second that the new base of America will be in Washington, D.C. I think this is personal. I think that the new base will be the new starting point for the new financial system. That's what I think, based on the information that I've had over the last 12 months. I think the days of ruling the United States of America from Washington are over. Number one, it's not even a state of America, it's a District of Columbia, and still is. So it's a foreign state, there's foreign interference. There's so many things. The fence around the outside has stopped people getting out, not people getting in. There's a number of pointers there, but only time will tell. But my feeling is that once we move away from, we've already moved away from the old system, from the bankrupt system. I've never ever seen the point of allowing this process to vote for a president of a bankrupt company. There's no logic in that other than the pantomime of seeing who was doing what. I get that has a value. I've had confirmation from people that I know on the ground that Biden hasn't even gone to Washington. He's still in Hollywood.
Yes.
He's still shooting all his videos there. That in itself should ring alarm bells. He hasn't got clearance at the Pentagon. There's a lot of pointers there, but there's a lot of grey areas, and we're trying to establish the truth. We are in a war between good and evil, and we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
What Charlie, I thought was a real interesting, as we say in Great Britain, shoot yourself in the foot, where Biden, through mainstream media, so I'm not talking about our alternative media, mainstream media reported that Biden was very cross that Trump was still receiving security briefings.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, how stupid is Biden? So he's released that to the mainstream media that the military, the Joint Chiefs, are still doing briefings for supposedly the outgoing president, yet Biden, supposedly the president, is not getting them. I mean, this gaffe after gaffe after gaffe, and you've got to be a moral bankrupt group to be hanging on like those cartoons. I used to love Roadrunner and the coyote.
Me.
And the coyote would be hanging on to the cliff edge.
Yeah.
And that's what Biden and his gang are like. And I just wish I was up there with a big stick helping his fingers to loosen their grip. But I think it's not long now. It's just my own personal view. I don't think we've got long to wait. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree, Simon. I don't think we've got long to wait. There are dates that come up and then, kind of go to, you can, as we kind of go along this journey, things appear as you get closer to that horizon, you start to see other things, but I don't think we've got long to wait. Charlie mentioned about Washington and also about he believes there will be a new capital and it won't be Washington, it'll be elsewhere. And there's maybe he might know more than he can say. But one of the things that I've noticed is Houston, Texas. Okay, so Houston, Houston comes to 112, which comes to Charles Ward. So our dear friend Charles Ward comes to 112. And then Texas comes to 69, which also comes to Checkmate. And Checkmate is the name of the fence company that has put the fence around Washington. So I don't know if there's some nice comms there, but in terms of Houston, Texas, I'm sure there's a few good places that capitals or power centers could be in the future. But any thoughts on that, Charlie?
I can't comment.
Well, what I can say is, as a Brit, I was rather hoping it'd be the old Commonwealth, which is Pennsylvania, but it won't be. It won't be that. But listen, Tom and Charlie, why can't he move between Texas and Florida? Because he could be in both, couldn't he? Wouldn't that work?
Well, you can have a winter White House and a summer White House.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Why not?
Yeah, maybe a spring one and an autumn one as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So no, again, those figures actually, I think, foresee the future.
Thank you.
I agree with that. I think there's only so many times you can go, that's a coincidence. That's a coincidence. And time again, you see these numbers coming up and you just go, it can't keep being a coincidence. And that's why I'm on this journey with Tom, because I've got sick and tired of coincidences.
It's amazing. It's it's a beautiful time to be alive, and the numbers are wonderful. They've always been there. Talking about 118, I've mentioned him a few times, but I think it's appropriate to mention him here with Simon. So my first conscious understanding of the numbers, and I didn't understand them here, but I was aware that something was happening. I've mentioned this to Charlie before, but my dear cousin Paul Bushnell, he passed in 2015. And it was literally a week before I went on my first and only trip in this lifetime to New York. And I bumped into Ivanka Trump there. But his date of birth is January 18th. So it's 118. And I had an experience where I visited the Statue of Liberty, which is also the Statue of POTUS when you do the numbers.
Right.
It's also Statue Victory, which is Statue Charles Ward, which is also Statue Houston, 112. And I also went to Staten Island on 2 different occasions. And I met a girl each time with her friends and family, and we just could hang out. And the first one had the date of birth was January the 18th. And the second one, a day or two later, was January the 18th.
Oh.
And then when I got back to England, I went on another date with a girl back here, and her date of birth was January 18th.
Interesting.
And I was like, something's happening here. And Christopher Nolan, who I mentioned before in the film Interstellar, he has how would you call it? An example of 5-dimensional communication through numbers, etc. And it's the bookcase. It's not ruining any part of the film, but that came out at the end of 2014. So I was aware of that principle, and then I had my own experience of it in New York. So my cousin Paul had just passed. I bumped into Ivanka Trump, and this is literally a week to 10 days before President Trump actually announced his candidacy to run for president. So this was all happening at this time.
But that's before he even came down the escalator, was it?
Yes, yeah. It's literally about a handful of days before, Simon, maybe between a week to 10 days prior.
Yeah.
And 118 is his date of birth, my cousin Paul, but also the storm, the matrix, the silver, the blackout. Now we know Scottsdale, Q, etc. what's going on in Myanmar now. And so that I was aware of it, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I knew it was something. I knew it was a virtual tap from my cousin saying,
Brilliant.
I'm here, Tom, you know.
Tom, that's brilliant. I've got to ask you then, for me, the number 7, I was born on the 7th of September, but for me, 7 or 777 has always been a very, very important number. What is the significance if you were to convert that? What does that mean? Can you do
so
that?
77 comes to Christ, comes to power, comes to hertz, as in frequency. September itself comes to 103, which comes to Jack Kennedy. It also comes to Princess. Also, if JFK, I personally believe and hope that he's still alive. If he is or was, he would be 103 years old today, which is the month of September. 7, the word 7 comes to 65, which comes to Florida, which is where everybody is right now, you know. And if you just did September 7, so September 103 plus 7 comes to 110, that comes to president. It also comes to Christmas. It also comes to Marylebone, which I happen to live in here in England. So yeah, and the word 7th, we could take it further. So if we add 28 to 65, that would be oh, I forgot this. Thank you, Simon. Thanks for the reminder. It comes to 93, which incidentally is my last name, Bushnell. It's also Charlie's son, Justin. It's also the word for kingship. It's also 15th. So 15th of February, which is my birthday, which is next week. Again, 15th comes to 93. 93 is Flotus. So Melania. And I've had orbs appear in my videos when I've said 93. So I've had beams of light appear. Not just, you know, from a camera angle. It's actually
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, now I see why Charlie's organised this, because you want birthday presents and birthday cards, don't you?
Exactly.
I do, Simon. I do. That's what I want.
No, the thing is that when we talk about this, the trouble is that we forget the esoteric side, and the orbs are real. They are consciousness of good things coming in. And
yes, they are.
We've been, you know, my organization, Connecting Consciousness, we've been so focused, and quite rightly, but, you know, we tend to forget that there's a whole group of unseen energies fighting, shall we say, unseen, and making themselves present. And, you know,
yes.
I'm glad you brought that in, because the world is not as we were taught in school.
Exactly. No. It's amazing when you see it, to have that experience. And you asked again about 7/7. So the first word I said was Christ.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's Christianity, etc., but there's Christ consciousness and all of that going on. But the interesting thing about it as well is President Trump is age 74. 74 comes to the word Jesus. It comes to the word London. It comes to the word Muhammad. He's age 74 at the moment. His father's middle name, Frederick Trump, his middle name was Christ, Frederick Christ Trump. And the grandmother also had Christ in her name, and also the great-grandparent. So he came from a line of at least 3 Christs,
yes,
which again, I think is really amazing and important. And the words power, Christ, hertz, frequency, you know, he is the Trump of the last days, you know, booming out. And that's why we miss him now, because we don't hear his voice every day, but he will be back soon. And, you know, we can feel that. And even the word download. So people ask me how this all kind of happened. It was at the beginning of lockdown. I figured out Princess Diana's her funeral time came to 9:08 in the morning. That's when the service started in Westminster.
Right.
Strange time to start anything. So 9 plus 8 is 17. When you spell the word 17, it comes to 109, which also comes to Diana Spencer. It also comes to Zapruder, the Zapruder film. It comes to, interestingly enough, my channel, Psych Club, PSYCH, next word club. And I created that in October of 2019, and I didn't put any videos up until May. So there's a lot of these things that are happening, but I was talking about another, I interrupted myself then, but there was another number I was mentioning before. So
you can only be cross with yourself then.
I know. I was oh, you talk about cross. So cross comes to 74 as well. So the cross of Christ, cross of Jesus, etc. But yeah, the numbers are amazing, and they, like you said, Simon, you know, there are other levels of consciousness that are trying to break through now, and we're witnessing that. And it's not something that we were taught in school, like you said, but when you start to see it, it's like, oh wow, the Great Awakening is really here. Actually, the Great Awakening comes to 169, which comes to Trump Tower. It comes to the Royal Crest. It comes to Tiffany Trump. It actually comes to one of the ways you can say my name, Thomas Bushnell. So I noticed those personal markers.
Of course.
But yeah, seven for you. So 7 is 65, Florida. And if you take it to 7th, it comes to 93, which is Bushnell, Flotus, and dear old Justin, or dear young Justin, I should say.
Yeah. And just for a bit of fun, I contacted Tom earlier today, because we were hearing a lot about the numbers of debt around the world and the numbers the Federal Reserve have been involved in. And just to put it into perspective, I thought you'd like this, Simon.
Okay, go on.
We talk about a million, but we put it into seconds. A million seconds is 11.5 days.
Okay.
A billion seconds is 31 years.
Good Lord.
A trillion seconds is 31,709 years.
Nearly as old as I am then.
Exactly. So you and me both. But when you start putting it into seconds, and so when you talk about the debt of $1 trillion, and you put it into perspective, because to most people it's just a name and number. We haven't got a clue as to what that is. So to put it into a time, so it goes from 11.5 days is a million seconds. A billion seconds takes it up to 31 years. And then a trillion takes it up to 31,709,000 years.
Absolutely bonkers.
It's absolutely bonkers. And that will make you realize how bonkers the world's become with the way it's been run by debt.
Yes, because and we're seeing it in Great Britain. They're talking about how are they going to plug all of these holes with the pension and all the rest of it. And the only weapon they've got left is just to turn the printing presses on all night. There's nothing else they can do.
No. And this is why we're having this reset to reset everything, because it's got completely out of control, because it's been run into the ground by greedy, evil people. When they seized the wealth of the Pacer family, the Phoenician family, the most wealthy Phoenician family, forget about $1 trillion. Their net worth was 34 quadrillion.
Wow. 34 DJT, the one, Neo.
Quadrillion. There was enough to give every person on the planet $1 million and have tons left over.
Good Lord.
Just
certainly pay all our debts off then, if the debts don't get written off in the new system then, Charlie.
Well, with the money that they've seized from them, they could clear the debts and still give everyone £1 million. That's how evil these people were. It was just,
also how clever they've been, because they've been getting away with it for years and years, Charlie. They really have. They have.
You know, I've said it a few times. I wish I'd thought of it first. I can print money and sell it to you and get it back with interest and tax. I mean, I'm surprised.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, I'm not joking. I'm actually being serious, that this is how they program kids. When the game Monopoly was produced, it was made sure that everybody who was about 5 years and up played it, so that by the time they got old enough to get a mortgage or get HP, they were well into the concept of I have to pay this and then I will have to pay extra. And it's programming.
Of course it is.
Incredible.
Of course it is.
Charlie, you just reminded me of something. So the word trillion comes to 109, which comes to, as we said a few minutes ago, comes to the word 17. It comes to Zapruder. It comes to Diana Spencer. It comes to my channel, Site Club. Parliament, interesting enough, comes to that. And you've got across the water, the big Q millennial wheel, which is right there. And you've got the River Thames, which is 1 through 8, which comes to Donald Trump, revaluation, etc. But going back to Houston and Texas, so Houston is 112, which is Charles Ward. Texas comes to 69, which is checkmate. You add those together, it comes to 181, which comes to draining the swamp.
Ah, Well, that's very,
Ooh. Yeah.
very interesting. Well, look,
Yeah.
with all of that, which we've agreed, the three of us, that this is not coincidence, that should give some extra confidence to people who are watching and have feel a bit wobbly over the last few weeks, that
Yes.
all of this can't be just a chance, as you said, Charlie. All of this is based on fact, Tom. It's, you know, you count your numbers, and
Yeah.
you double check it to make sure you've got it right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, that means that somebody in the past was looking to the future,
Yes.
and had a gift that we have yet to rediscover properly on the earth.
Yes.
The numbers
Talking
don't
of
lie.
that, no, they don't. They don't. You just triggered another thought there, Simon, about the past. So the pyramids come to 138 again, which is Donald Trump.
Ah,
So it's quite potent, and also the English way of spelling savior with an I, SAVIOUR, the savior, comes to 138, which is Donald Trump again. So the pyramids also revaluation. This is a big part of, you know, the reset, the revaluation. The word revaluation comes to 138 again, which is Donald Trump.
well, you see, look, it's all coming back to that great man, isn't it?
Exactly.
So, you know, what I would say then to the audience, because I know, Charlie, you're going to wind it up in a minute. You would say all of roads lead to Rome. Well, all roads lead back to Trump. There's
Yes.
no way that he's going to stay in Florida forever.
No, 100%, 1000%.
Well, don't start new numbers on me.
Well, guys, that was a brilliant evening session. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and
Oh.
that really put some of those numbers together.
I'm
Thank
so
you,
pleased to
Tom.
meet Tom for the first time, Charlie, because I've not properly met him before.
No,
Thanks, Simon. It's a pleasure as well. Really great to meet you, and we'd love to do this again, the three of us.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's good,
Charlie
it's good to
couldn't
put
make
the
it
numbers
all.
out there and let people work. Look, trying to calculate the numbers is your speciality, Tom, and you do an amazing job at it because
So,
they just jump out at you.
yeah, I'm still trying to work out the first one. But, you know,
Yeah.
Tom knows what he's doing. That's great.
Just rewatch it.
That's
Thank you,
fantastic.
Charlie. Thank you, Simon.
God bless
Thank you very
everyone.
much, guys.
Thanks.
God bless. Thank you. Take
Bye-bye.
care.